Hi guys, it's Carissa. I'm sorry if it looks like weird and hazy right now. I can't get the lighting right. I always close those curtains behind me to try and fix it, but I don't know, you didn't need to know the ins and outs of it, but basically it looks weird. And I cleaned my camera lens and everything, but I don't know. So today, if you didn't already notice from the title, I'm going to talk about weeks 30 and 31, mainly because my notes for both of those weeks were kind of short. And then I can get to week 32, and something happened in week 32 that made me feel like I really needed to get a move on and get updated on these videos and really start my to-do lists for the final countdown here. So I hope you don't feel cheated because I'm combining the weeks, but I truly had kind of short, if I can fit the notes for both of them on one piece of paper, then I just will combine the weeks. So week 30, one of the first notes I have here is that I figured out, wow, this feels like it was so long ago. First of all, the fact that it was week 30 was so exciting. So week 30 was exciting because obviously that means there's 10 weeks left. I mean, in some cases it's more than that, and in some cases it's less, which is kind of scary, but exciting. And I don't know, 10 weeks is a long time still, but when you look back on how the last 10 weeks felt, you know, it's easy to realize that it goes by so fast. And I know a lot of women have said that the last 10 weeks of their pregnancy, or like the last 4 or 5 weeks, felt like an eternity. But I feel like we're kind of immune to that because of the time of year we're dealing with, because we're already planning and mapping out Thanksgiving, and before you know it, it will be the holiday season, which always feels like complete chaos. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'll see how I feel as we go through it and as I start to get physically more uncomfortable, and as other things pop up. I don't feel ready at all. I mean, I'm ready, but there's a lot of stuff we need to do. So in week 30, I had kind of an epiphany. We had said that we weren't telling anyone our daughter's name. And it's mainly because a lot of people recommended that. Just don't tell people, because then it doesn't give them an opportunity to put it down or to say something negative or be like, oh, I knew someone with that name and I hated them. You know, things that really don't matter. You know, like as a couple, this huge decision you're making, you're gonna go, well, we'll pick this name unless somebody says they don't like it, and then we'll change it. I really don't think that ever happens. But I did tell a couple of people that week. I think it was just like nurses at appointments and like maybe somebody at a store, like people that I knew it wouldn't get back to anyone else if I told them. And it just kind of felt nice to sort of try it out. And with the exception of maybe 2 people, whenever I've told someone our daughter's name, I am met with silence, complete silence. And I'm not exaggerating. This has happened with almost every single person that we've told the name to. Not even like a fake, polite, oh, that's nice. Just silence, like they're trying to process it maybe. And I feel like that's so strange because it's not that unusual a name. It's not that strange. It isn't spelled weird, or it's not like we picked, like I like the name Charlie, which is typically a boy's name, as a girl name, and it's nothing like that even, which I guess I could see being met with a little bit of hesitation from people. I had no idea why that was always happening. And then I think I figured it out. And I could be wrong. People might just hate it for reasons that I guess Mike and I don't see. But I think it's because it's not a little kid name. It's not a baby name. You know, when you look at a baby, you know, some of our other names that we had picked out, I think would have suited a child or a baby more. And this hit me when I was at my OB's office waiting to be seen. I was in the waiting room and a woman came in and she had an infant baby with her, like very, very, very young. And they were like, oh, what's her name? And she said Emily. And they all were, you know, oh, oohing and eyeing. And I thought, maybe it's because Emily is I mean, it's not that it's not appropriate for an adult by any means, and I know that this is a sensitive subject when I get into names, but I feel like when you hear the name Emily, you can think of a little girl with like pigtails and playing on a swing set. You don't think of a woman standing in like a boardroom giving a meeting. And I think that the name that we picked is a more of a boardroom sounding name than a little girl name, which would bother me if she were going to be a little girl forever, but she's not. And I don't know, I wanted to pick a name that I would be proud to have. And Mike thinks it's beautiful. It was his favorite right off the bat when I gave him a short list. And we just haven't found anything that we like better than that. And nothing else feels as right as this name. No matter how wrong it feels when we have told people and they act like they hate it. So I've become really sensitive to that. And I feel like if I'm ever, you know, in a doctor's office or, you know, at a lab and somebody asks me, I almost feel offended, like it's none of your business. And it's just because I'm so ready for this weird silence that I've gotten whenever I've given her name. So that's that, I guess. I wish I could just tell you guys right now and get it over with, but I'm just gonna let it marinate for a little bit longer, and that's just what it is, and everybody can suck it. So in week 30, on my way to that appointment, I noticed that I had my music up really loud in the car, and it was loud enough to cause a reaction from her. She started kicking and moving around quite a bit, actually. And I think that was one of the first times that I felt like an outside noise got through to her enough to make her react, which I thought was really cool. So, of course, I tried to turn my music up almost every time I got in the car after that, and it doesn't always work, but I don't know, just whenever I find anything that makes her interact with me when I'm not expecting her to is such a thrill. So, I don't know, I hope I haven't tortured her with a lot of sounds or awkward sitting and sleeping positions just to get her to move, but I can't help it. So it says here that at 30 weeks and 4 days, I felt a hard churning motion, like she was really swirling around. And it turned out she did. She had been transverse for the longest time, which means that she was horizontal across my stomach. And I think that she, if I had to guess, just based on the experiences I've had and what I've been told since then, I think that she was facing outward. So her face would have been facing the same direction as mine. And I felt like I could really feel her movements, and my belly felt really wide, and like it was stretching my back skin a lot. It still does sometimes. But at 30 weeks and 4 days, she moved. And I felt the exact moment that she did because it was very slow and very uncomfortable. It didn't hurt. It just felt like just felt wrong. It just felt like a feeling that you don't anticipate to experience in your lifetime. Like just this churning motion. And it felt an awful lot like she was moving like this and sort of swirling in a circular motion. And she did, because then my belly was shaped completely differently. I had this long, hard lump down the center of my stomach, and all of the kicks were really, really low in my stomach. So I knew that she went back to breech. And I think since then she's been going back and forth, but there was something about that initial movement that was really noticeable. And kind of cool, because I've noticed if I lean backwards now, I can kind of see how my stomach pulls and what direction she must be laying in. Oh, Lucy wants to join me. Oh, Moose. She knows we have a pet gift box to film, huh? Do you want to film a pet gift box? In a little bit. I gotta film this first. Work first, party later, okay? I noticed in week 30 that I was starting to have a lot of trouble not mouth breathing pretty much all of the time. And it was really affecting my lips. My mouth was constantly feeling chapped and really severely dry. So not just at nighttime, just any time I was breathing, my mouth was open, and that continued to be a problem for me in the coming weeks. I also noticed that I don't like to be able to hear myself breathing. If I'm in a room that's too quiet, and especially if there's someone else in the room with me, like if Mike and I are in the same room together, and there's not enough ambient noise in the room, and I really start to feel like I can hear myself breathing. I have like a telltale heart situation, and it sounds like my breathing gets louder and louder and more ragged, and I get really frantic, and it probably does affect my breathing ultimately. So I've noticed that one thing that really helps is if I turn a fan on and if I blow a fan directly in my own face. That's actually how I sleep most of the time, is have a small desk fan blowing directly at my face. And I've been doing that for years. That's just something that makes me feel comfortable when I'm sleeping. But now it feels like a necessity because it prevents me from feeling like I might hyperventilate and not be able to catch my own breath. I was talking about that in, I don't know, maybe the second trimester. I told you guys I was having trouble breathing and I would start to almost panic over it. And I think I realized that it was mostly the times when I could hear myself breathing. So I think I'll need to bring some fans with me to the hospital, a few different kinds of fans. I have a necklace fan that's just battery powered. I'm thinking about maybe seeing if I can get something like a stroller fan and clip it to the actual hospital bed to blow up my face. I don't know, I'm trying to think of things that don't have to be plugged in, that won't really be in the way. But I'm starting to think that that will be the difference between panicking and not, if it can be prevented. So if you have any recommendations for me on that, I am all ears, really. So now let me tell you about week 31. It felt an awful lot because of the positioning that she was in, like I was getting kicked in the cervix. Because it was similar to the feeling of being kicked in the bladder, but it was different. It created sort of a similar result, sort of a chill through my body, almost like I had to pee, like that sudden urgent have to pee kick that goes away. It's sort of the same thing, but it feels a little bit different. It feels lower and deeper. Definitely was not happening as frequently, but it was a new feeling. And I notice it mostly at nighttime. I don't know if she's just more active then, or if it has something to do with the fact that I sit differently at night, because I would tend to sit on the couch or sit on the bed, and maybe it pushes my hips in a different motion than when I'm sitting at my work chair, for example. But I was having a little bit of trouble with movement in that week as well. For example, 31 weeks and 4 days, I wrote down that day specifically, she barely moved all day long. And I like to just have, I don't get obsessive. I don't let it worry me too much. And I know that in these later weeks, and especially with me being as big a girl I am, I know that that affects it too, but I know that she's getting bigger and she's running out of room in there. So I know her movements are going to feel different and not feel as frequent, because I do have whole days, and in week 32 it was a problem again, where she barely moves at all, and it really stresses me out if it's been a long time and I have, I don't know, 5 or 6 little tricks that tend to work. And if I do all of those and none of them produce any results, it does start to make me feel panicked. And I don't like to get that way. I don't like to worry, and it's nothing I've ever like run to the hospital over, but I did consider it one day. It must have been that day. I didn't say that specifically, but one of them, I just stopped everything I was doing. I went in my bedroom and I laid down and I really focused, and I promised myself if within the hour she hadn't moved, I would just go to the emergency room and see if I could get an ultrasound, or at the very least just have her checked somehow, because it was starting to concern me. And sure enough, towards the end of that hour, she started moving. Not a lot, but just enough to kind of reassure me. And then of course by 9 p.m. that night, she was acting like she was having a rave in there. So I wish that that had been spread out a little bit more throughout the day, but I will take whatever I can get as long as it's something that's enough peace of mind to get me through. I know at this point we're getting really close to the end, and if something were to happen, she should be okay. So I try not to worry too much about it, but of course, the second I realize that it's been a while since I felt her move, it sort of sends a frenzy through me, and that's my goal, to get nothing more done than to make sure that I get her to move around. As a result, unfortunately, I have been eating a lot more sugar than I would like to admit. And that's just because that's my last resort, and sometimes it gets down to that. I try laying on opposite sides, because if I've been in an upright position and I lay down, sometimes that's all it takes. I've tried sort of jiggling my belly with both hands, kind of rocking my belly back and forth. I have held my phone up to my stomach, pressed it up there really hard, and then played alarm sounds. And the first time I did that, it worked. It doesn't always work, though. Just to wake her up. What else? Drinking something really cold never seems to help, but I always try it. Because most of the time I drink room temperature water. My mouth, my lips, became even more of a problem in week 31. I was noticing they were getting really scaly, and the skin on my lips felt thick and kind of, my lips still feel fat a little bit. Like my upper lip feels like a little bit bigger than it normally does. It doesn't really look bigger, but it feels that way from the inside, the under part of it. But the outside of my mouth felt really dry and scaly, and it was starting to form little bumps. Everything I tried to Google said it was cold sores, because the second you Google anything that has to do with bumps on your lip, it just goes to cold sores automatically. I don't know if there's some chance that actually happened and I picked up cold sores somehow, but I find it very unlikely, because this seems like it is directly related to the dry skin. Other things that I found were that it could be cellulitis, which I'm really afraid of, because I think that's what I had in my nose when I had a big infection in my face last Christmas, and it blew my nose up, and I had to be hospitalized for it. So I'm hoping that's not true, or it's not a staph infection or anything like that. It doesn't hurt. I did ask my doctor about it in week 32, and it caused a big issue. So I'll talk to you guys more about that, but I'm supposed to see her again next week, and I can hopefully touch on that with her then. But it does seem to be improving now. But in week 31, it was very uncomfortable. It was hard to eat or talk or laugh or smile, because my lips just felt so, it felt like there was bark on my mouth. It was so bad. And it's not even, it's 70 degrees here today. So it's not even like I have winter dry skin or anything yet. It's not even that kind of weather here. I did write that I had insomnia, and I do know that I basically can figure out a formula for when that will happen. If I don't eat well and I do it too close to bedtime, those two things in combination with each other will cause insomnia. If I have pizza and I go to bed like an hour later, insomnia. I might be able to sleep for an hour or two, but then I am up, and I'm up for the whole night. I've used it as personal time for myself, because it takes me a really long time to do my nails, because I've been doing gel. It's the only thing that stays on my nails lately. So I go through the whole soak off process, and then the filing and the conditioning, and then the polishes, the layers, and the lamp curing, and it takes like 3 or 4 hours to do a set of gel nails on myself. So I would just sit up and, play something on Hulu or Netflix. I started watching This Is Us. I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes in a row in the middle of the night. Oh my gosh, that show. Why do I do it to myself? Why? It wrecks me. But I take that as personal time for myself, but I almost always have a reason for the insomnia, and it's because I ate poorly. In week 31, I think my last day of week 31 was Halloween, and I went to my sister's house and I ate a bunch of Halloween candy. I think we had Doritos and pizza that night. And I came home, it was too close to bedtime when I did it also. And when I came home, I just knew I was not going to be able to sleep that night. It's not even heartburn or anything. It just creates this restlessness. It creates like an excess energy in my body. And it doesn't happen very often. So if I want to eat something sort of carb heavy, if I want to have pasta, anything like that, I need to do it at lunchtime. Because if I have it anytime after 4 o'clock, basically, and then want to go to bed at a decent hour between 8 and 9:30-ish is when I like to go to bed, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to. So So that is it for weeks 30 and 31. And I've been meaning to ask, I keep forgetting to ask, if there are any pregnancy specific videos that you would like to see, that you are interested in, let me know. I have a short list that I'm hoping to do in the next few days. One of them is the ring test. One of them is the names that we love but will not use. I think I have the pregnancy tag printed out, but the questions are kind of strange and I don't know how well they pertain to us, but I might give that a try if you guys are interested in it. But if there's anything like that, any of those types of videos that you would like to see, I don't know, I guess I can't think of more of them to do on my own, and I haven't watched enough of them to have made note of anything like that, I guess. So let me know if there's anything like that that you want to see. Of course, I will show you our little girl's nursery when it is ready and done. It is not quite there yet. It's very close, and I'm really excited. But other than that, please send your suggestions my way, because I'm going to try and get them in as quickly as I can in the next couple of weeks. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.